Hello everyone, welcome to this video. In the last two videos, we have completed these two tasks where we have created a virtual network. Okay, in this virtual network, we have created two different subnets. Okay, and in those two subnets, we have one address space actually. In this address space, I have two different subnets, and each subnet, what we have done, we have deployed deploy two different virtual machines. So what's happening here, okay, uh, in this particular video, we're going to configure the private and public IP address of those virtual machines. So let's just go to the task 3. So let's do task 3. Okay, so again, we're going to configure static assignment of public IP and private IP addresses assigned to the network interfaces of Azure virtual machines. So if you read, private and public IP addresses are actually assigned to the network interface. Okay, that's something to remember. It's not to the VM. You need a network interface card, which in turn are attached to the Azure virtual machines. However, it is fairly common to refer to IP addresses assigned to the Azure VMs instead. Same for anybody you're talking to. They will say, okay, what is the IP of your VM? Or your Windows system, Linux system. What they're really asking, what is the IP address associated with the network interface card of your system? So what we'll do, we'll go to the resource group, and to the right, I'm already logged in, and we're gonna find the resource group AZ104-04RG1, and over here I'm just gonna search for that one. Okay, usually they show up, and if you see under resource group, uh, the the search already said, hey, there's something there, so I can click on that one. It will directly take me to the resource group as well. Okay, so in this one, these are all things that we have deployed in the previous video. It says on this resource group led in the list of resources, click on the AZ10404 VNet 1. So AZ10404 VNet, there's a virtual network, so let's click on that one. On the virtual network plate, review the connected devices. So this connected device is going to tell you what machine is connected. So it's telling you in the subnet 0 you have one network interface card connected, and the other subnet you have network interface card 1, NIC 1 is connected. Okay, so we have done this review, and we see there he's saying verify that there are two network interfaces card. We have done that. So next, click on the AZ10404 NIC 0, so that one, and the other one, and click the IP configuration. So click on this one, and over here, if you click on the IP configuration, what you see over here, virtual network is showing, IP configuration subnet is showing, and it says private IP address, and it's a dynamic type. There is no public IP selected. So over here, what we want to do, okay, IP configuration. In the IP configuration, click IP config 1. So over here, if you click on this IP config 1, okay, what we want to do in the public IP address setting, this one, uh, create associate. So that will create a public IP address for us, okay, and then hit the plus create, so can be associated with this network interface card. So I think you have to do create new. Okay, in this create new, what we're gonna call a public IP address name AZ10404 people0, and the SKU is going to be a standard one. Okay, and then hit OK. So we're done up to this task, this, and then over here, uh, assignment, we're going to make it static, so we don't want the IP address to change. Okay, and it's set to 10.40.04, which is what I have here, so I'm fine. Now we can do a save here. Okay, and then once this is saved, we are going back to the AZ10404 VNet 1 blade. So let's just save the new configuration that we are just creating, and we are uh, going to go to the other NIC. So this is the NIC that we have just configured, AZ10404 NIC 0. So once this is done, we are gonna go to the NIC 1. So it says that, hey, uh, wait, okay, wait for a little bit before you go. Okay, so it's saying make sure to wait for the save operation to complete before you proceed to the next step. So let's just wait for a second, and this the deployment is going on. Let's pause the video a second and I'll be back as soon as this deployment is done, and we'll configure the other network interface card. Okay, so this operation is now successful. It has says that save network interface, so I'm good here. So let's just go back to the virtual network blade over here, click on that one. So we have already configured this. So let's go to the NIC 1 then. And again, we're going to do the IP configuration. And it says this is the IP config 1. So again, we're going to click on that one. Again, do associate over here. Okay, then again, create new. And this time we're going to call this public IP address as this, and then make it a standard, and then hit OK. And also the assignment, I want to make it a static one. Let's see, static, and so that it will make my private IP address that I'm using, it's going to make it static. Okay, so over here now I can hit the save over here as well, and it will take just a minute. Let me pause the video for a second. Alright, it looks like this setting is also saved. So now I can go back to the VNet. Okay, so we are really done to the step 14. So it's what is telling you go back to RG1 now. So before we go there, I'm actually gonna click on both NIC one more time and quickly look at the IP configuration just to validate that what we have done makes sense. So over here, what you see this time is ipconfig1 IPv4. It's a primary, but this time you see it's static, and we got a public IP address. Okay, and within Azure AZ10404 point, that is a name of the resource. Let's validate the other one as well. If I go to NIC one, go to the IP configurations, I have the statically assigned IP address, and I also got a public IP address for both of them. So that's great. So let's just now follow through. Let's go to the resource group. So RG1 is the resource group level. In here, click on the VM0. So if I click on VM0, and from the VM0 virtual machine blade, note the public IP address. And if you look at the public IP address, this is public IP address is now populated. Okay. And then if I go back to the resource group again, and in the list go to the VM1, this one should also have a public IP address, and that is a public IP address that we have created in just a little bit ago as part of the public IP address creation, right? You will need both IP addresses in the next step of the lab. So when we need it, we'll just come back and copy this one. But as of now, we are done with the task 3 in this lab. So let's come and go to the next lab and see how network security group can be used to protect these virtual machines, which is now can be accessed via the internet using the public IP address. Uh, so let's see you in the next lab. Thank you.